The first wave of free agency is over. Dozens of players have changed teams. But which ones could really have an impact in the postseason? Today, I am going to name the 5 free agent signings that I think might make a difference in January and potentially February. So first, I'd like to say spending big in free agency doesn't always correlate with winning big. A lot of the teams that do spend big do so because they weren't good the year before. That said, there are examples of free agent signings that have made a difference in the playoffs or on playoff runs. You could just look to the last postseason. The 49ers dropped a ton of money to acquire defensive tackle Javon Hargrave. He was excellent last year. The Chiefs acquired smaller signings like Drew Tranquill at linebacker, Donovan Smith at left tackle, Charles Omenihu to rush the passer, all made a difference at points during the season. Heck, the Bucs going out and signing Baker Mayfield to play quarterback wasn't thought of as a meaningful signing by many at the time. He ended up winning a playoff game for them. So that said, for this exercise, I am picking 5 signings on teams where I think those signings could actually make a difference in the playoffs. And as a rule, I am not including players returning to their current teams, which means no Chris Jones, no Justin Madubuike with the Baltimore Ravens. The first of those players, going from the Baltimore Ravens to the Cincinnati Bengals, is Gino Stone. This is a smaller one. It's a little bit of a hipster pick. It was a 2-year, $15 million signing, but I actually think it could make a big difference for Cincinnati. A Bengals team that obviously had a lost season with Joe Burrow getting hurt last year really struggled on defense. The safety position jumps out too because the previous year, 2 of their safeties walked out the door. Jesse Bates, who was excellent with the Atlanta Falcons, Von Bell, tried to go younger and cheaper. Mixed results. In Gino Stone, they get a player who had 7 interceptions, 8 passes defended last year. One of those interceptions was of Joe Burrow, by the way, but is smart, experienced, instinctive. I think would be a great fit for what Lou Anarumo wants to do, all the disguise on the back end, and perhaps most importantly, shores up a defense that would otherwise be the Achilles heel of this team in the playoffs. The next player I want to talk about is Danielle Hunter, signing with the Texans. 2 years, $49 million, 48 guaranteed, something you don't see that often. Big signing for obviously an ascendant team that shocked a lot of people when they won a playoff game last year, and a defense that took a huge leap forward under the new head coach, DeMeco Ryans. Actually finishes the best run defense in the NFL, and their 4-man rush was top 10 in pressure rate, 3rd in ESPN's pass rush win rate metric. Well, Grenard left to go to Minnesota, essentially trading places with Hunter, who, while, yes, some of his sacks last year were probably inflated by Brian Flores' blitz-happy defense, is still one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. I'm kind of considering the signing along with the Texans adding to Nico Autry on the defensive line, Azeez Al-Shaair to play linebacker. To me, this says this team recognizes what they have in CJ Stroud, which is an elite young quarterback on a rookie contract. They're going all in and taking steps to improve a defense that was already on the rise, and I suspect with Hunter could be even better next year. Next, I want to talk about a signing by another surprising playoff team last year. That was the Los Angeles Rams, and a somewhat surprising move, going out and paying $51 million, 3 years for a guard, Jonah Jackson. It's not surprising because of the player. Jonah Jackson's amazing with Detroit, just mauling run blocker. But because the Rams guards last year, Steve Avila and Kevin Dotson, who they also brought back, were excellent. But to me, this says, well, one, Steve Avila will be moving to center, but it really tells me that the Rams are leaning into that aggressive running mentality they found last season. It was a mentality that worked when Kyron Williams was healthy. It's a big part of the reason why they finished 5th in rushing success rate and 6th in DVOA. When we look ahead to the postseason next year and ask the question, okay, well, what would it take for the Rams to go even further? This was an offense that was really, really good when everyone was healthy. With this signing, I think they could be even better. Moving back to the defense, this was one of my favorite signings, in part because it was somewhat uncharacteristic for the acquiring team, and that was the Packers paying a premium, 4 years, $68 million, to sign Xavier McKinney last with the Giants. Really the cream of the crop when it came to free agent safeties, given his age, his versatility. The Packers don't usually do this. They don't spend big in free agency. They are a team that likes to lean on their homegrown players, but in recent years, it has been those players on defense that have let them down. The offense was fantastic last year with Jordan Love, but while the defense had played well in the playoffs, at the very end of the year, they struggled greatly throughout the season. Now you've got a new defensive coordinator coming in, Jeff Hafley from Boston College, who wants to play more single high. And in McKinney, they have a safety who can do that, who can be the center fielder in that defense, who has the range to play both the post, tackle, come down into the box. He's versatile, he's athletic, he's great at reading quarterbacks, he has ball production. I love this for the Packers, who I suspect will be everybody's favorite pick to make a run in the postseason next year. And finally, I feel like there's no other choice here. Kirk Cousins, quarterback, signing a 4-year, $180 million contract with the Atlanta Falcons. Vegas agrees. The Falcons are now the favorite to win the very winnable NFC South. I think for a good reason. This team, over the last 2 years, truly did feel like they were a quarterback away. We know all about their excellent, highly drafted skill players, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, the very good run blocking offensive line. We also know that this new coaching staff, Raheem Morris, Zach Robinson as offensive coordinator, comes from the same tree as Kevin O'Connell. So Kirk can pick up right where he left off from a scheme perspective on offense. What we don't know is what he'll look like coming off of the Achilles injury at 36 years old. That certainly introduces some risk. But if you're asking me which move in all of free agency is most likely to make a difference in January, I got to go with Kirk getting the Falcons into the playoffs. What they'll do when they get there, well, that's an open question.